Hello and welcome to a show we are currently calling Creatively Speaking. A little show where we like to talk to other creative people about their journey, their life, their jobs, their creative projects that they're working on. And today, our guinea pig is going to be the one and only Boyter. I know him as Boyter. He is known as KR Boyter or even Ken Boyter. Who knows what his actual name is? Anyway, Ken Boyter. Hey, Ken.
Hello. Thank you for having me. Yes, I don't think I've been compared to a guinea pig before, but I'll take that.
Have you never? I thought that was. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm using you as a little bit of a guinea pig for this episode of this to see how this works. This is still part of the beta. We call this our MindSpuke beta episodes where we're sort of finding our feet with all this. So thought, why not?
Yeah.
Why not? Ken is a designer, a painter, an actor, a writer, a presenter, and now, God damn it, he's an animator as well. Is there no stopping you exploring all the realms? See what I did there of creativity.
Very good there. Yes. Well, thank you. Yeah.
Have I missed anything out?
I'm just trying to think. Yeah. I probably not. I act. Did you put that down?
Actor. Yeah, I've got actor. Tick.
You got acting. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those weird things where I'm either really stupid or very clever, because I just think, oh, that looks fun, I'll give it a go. I wonder if I can do it. So I always think, yeah, why shouldn't I be able to do it? I might not be very good at the beginning, but surely if you practice enough, you could get, semi-decent at doing something.
Do you? What is it? 10,000 hours? Is it 100,000 hours? What was it? Is there something like you've got to do 10,000 hours at something to become good at it? So
yeah, or an expert, I think it is.
Or become an expert or something. Yeah.
And that's really helped because in terms of, how long have we known each other now, Julian? 15, 20 years?
God knows, probably. I think I'm only in my early 20s, so we met when we were babies.
When we were at primary school. No, and we did, we've done the Bottled Imp YouTube channel, and you were quite right. We've just got to keep doing the shows. And if you look back at one of, say our first 5 or 6 shows, they were good. I think they were good. But obviously for me as a presenter, I had never done presenting before. And I started to think, right, well, how do you present? And we just came to conclusions like, be yourself. And you think, okay, that's a good idea. But then you think, well, how much of myself should I be? And how much, what sort of personality do you want to present? And it was only through just doing, we did something like 450 episodes, that it's the practice. And so because we were doing them once a week, sometimes we would film, 4 or 5 in a day, which is crazy. But it was just that practice, and then you gain the confidence, and then you relax into it. And that's then when you get the sort of skills that, you could be considered an expert. I don't know if I'm still an expert as a presenter, but who knows?
So that's the presenter bit, but we're here to talk about a specific project. We could talk for hours and hours, and indeed we have done, about all the other things, and it's nice to perhaps have a little bit of a background of how you got to do what you're doing now, but you're still doing multiple things. I mean, we're here to talk about a short film you made specifically, rather than just talk generally about creativity. We want to talk specifically about this short film, and not only a short film, a short animated film, another level of challenge and things to learn, called, I should have written down what it was called in big letters here. Ken, tell us the name of the short film, which we shall shortly be watching, but we want to just set it up and talk about it. The Glass Princess, isn't it?
It is called The Glass Princess, yes. Well, remember, The Glass Princess, yeah.
So yes, we're mostly here to talk about that and focus on Ken's short 5-minute animation, The Glass Princess, which, as I say, we're going to watch in a second. And we'll also put a link in the description of where you can watch it on Ken's YouTube channel and where you can actually access it there. But because it's short, we're going to watch it and then we're going to talk about it afterwards. But how did you come about deciding to make an animated film?
I know, it was a bit of a crazy idea, actually, because it was all to do with lockdown. It was last year's lockdown. And I was in a fortunate position of having an income still coming in, but being at home and not having to work at home. So I did have extra time. Now I do other, as Julia mentioned, I do other creative projects, and so I do those creative projects. But it was like, oh, I've got a lump of time, and it was the Southern Maltings Theatre, close to where I live in Ware, who put out a competition. I think it was maybe their third year that they've been running this competition. And all the criteria was it can be a film, but 5 minutes was the maximum length. And it could be an animation, it could have been live. There wasn't a theme or anything like that. And I suddenly thought, that sounds like a good challenge, because I always had at some point wanted to do animation. But, when do you ever sit down and go, you know what, let's have a go. So that's why it came about. I don't know if you want to talk to, when you want to talk about the subject matter or anything like that, but that's how it came about, basically.
Well, yeah, did you write the story specifically for the animation? Because you have written lots of stories, and that's part of a lot of the stuff you do, and the YouTube channel you do, and everything like that. And you've written stories and had stories published. So was this a story you had already, and you thought, I tell you what, that'll lend itself nicely to an animation, or did you write it all from scratch specifically for the animation?
No, what happened was, it was a pre-existing story, and when I wrote the story, I did think, this would make a cool animation. I did think that, and I wrote it for a show, and I'll hold up the poster, because I'm very proud of the poster. My friend Vicky Holden Swinton, she's an actress, and we went up to the Edinburgh Fringe. I wrote this show called The Storyteller's Apprentice. It was a two-hander. I played one of the characters, a storyteller, and she played the storyteller's apprentice. And the show is about the apprentice not being allowed to tell stories. Basically, the storyteller is a bit of a drunk. He just uses her to, cook and clean for him, basically, with the promise that she's going to be an apprentice, that she's learning storytelling. She rebels, but throughout the actual play, there are 3 genuine, proper stories. And Vicky is an amazing storyteller. And we originally had some other stories that I put in, or that she had actually put in, and we decided they didn't quite fit. They were my stories, but we thought, actually, as we were developing the play, we needed to write some new stories. So I wrote 2 of the 3 stories specifically for the play, one of which was The Glass Princess. And it was a real bonus, because having to write something that I knew what actress was going to, perform it, I kind of had her in mind, performing it. And that really helped in some respects as well. So when it came to the animation, it just seemed an obvious one to animate. As I say, the 3 stories, I did think, all of these would make a good, animation. And so that's how that idea came about. Instantly, I thought, I'll do The Glass Princess.
Brilliant. I tell you what, that's probably a good point in which to watch it. It's about 5 minutes long, so we will watch The Glass Princess, and then we'll come back to Ken and just discuss in more detail the background and the creative process leading up to this. So here it is, The Glass Princess by Ken Boyter.
Stories come and stories go. Stories ebb and stories flow. Stories fade and stories stay. Some are remembered to this day. The Glass Princess is one such tale, a queendom wide across the dale. Princess Lilithina, as she was named, was their child, it was proclaimed. But what of the queen and king's first child? Prince Elrad, neglected, began to grow wild. As the years tumbled by, his jealousy grew. His sister became popular whilst he withdrew. He scoured the ancient royal library for scrolls of spells on sorcery. Transformed by magic, a witch he looked. She was tricked, for she mistook. Old, withered, twisted and gnarled, Elrad spoke and snarled. "Hello, my dear, what a pretty thing! A gift for you I do bring." Elred held out his wrinkled hand, the finest sweetmeat in all the land. "Try some, dear, just one little taste. I've saved the best bit, so make haste." Not to offend, she took a bite. Too late for her, she didn't feel right. A frozen sensation began to pass. Through her limbs she was turning to glass. By now the witch had disappeared, and by coincidence Elred had reappeared. "Sister, sweet sister, what has befallen you? What has happened? You are glass through and through. Who has done this most foul deed? I will find them and make them bleed. Stay in the tower until I can find a wizard with magic to unbind." Wizards came and wizards went. White witches summoned, but their magic spent. None could draw the dark magic out. Over time was growing doubt. Magic spells in secret she read, grimoires, scrolls, even books of the dead. Although her spells helped many a folk, none would help the curse to revoke. The princess fell deep in despair. Her lowest ebb, this was rare. But one ancient spell she stumbled upon told of shape-shifting from beast to swan. She chose a swift for her bird, cast the spell, and she heard glass crunching and changing form, her new body now not the norm. A glass bird, the princess could fly. She stretched her glass feathers and flew into the sky. But she knew the tower she must return. Changing back was her concern. Sadly her body remained glass still. To break the curse was still her will. But life can also sing sour. Tragedy struck one midnight hour. Both queen and king a fever caught, and there they died, all were distraught. The prince and princess had to be told, their tears cascading uncontrolled. As was custom, they would rule together, rain and shine, whatever the weather. But Elred had other ideas. Foul rumours he spread, creating fears. The glass princess is not fit to rule, the common folk he tried to cajole. Instead I shall rule alone, until her glass is turned to bone. A grand festival was declared, games and food to be shared. All the guests travelled far and wide, through various parts of the countryside. She flew out of her window to see the fair. She flew over the people to hear them declare, "What a miracle the princess is!" But this was confusing, this was a quiz. She listened to more of the townsfolk, praise her kindness, and inside awoke the love she felt for helping for years. Natural magic grew and released her tears. As they rolled down her skin, her flesh returned to begin. A life anew, the curse was broken. Enlightenment shone through and had awoken. Standing tall, a lady once more. The crowd were stunned and in awe. Their princess returned to rule instead, as her cowardly brother had turned and fled. The curse was shattered, the princess knew. Because of one reason her love grew. The years of loneliness were tough. Quietly she whispered, "I am enough." The princess ruled over a happy land since the day she made her stand. The people loved her and did rejoice, for the glass princess had found her voice.
Yay! Well done. There it is. Hang on, I might have a little. That's 3 people clapping. That applause one. Well done. There it is. The Glass Princess. How lovely! What a love. That's a lovely little piece, isn't it? Are you pleased with it?
Yeah, I was actually, yeah. And when we performed the whole play in Edinburgh, we got genuinely lovely feedback. And because we aimed it at kids, obviously, they don't really lie. You know, if they like something, they will tell you. If they hate something, they will tell you. And we, after the first performance, that went really well, and it was the first time I'd got all my lines right. Up until then, all the rehearsals I'd always messed up, but that first night was perfect. And you know, the bit where you do the show, and there's that just in between bit where the show's finished and the audience are like, "Are we going to clap now? Okay, let's clap now." But there's just that momentary pause, and just out of the darkness, one girl shouted, "That was amazing." And I just thought, right, whatever happens from now on in, we did 18 performances. that's justified all the hard work that we put into it. And so I kind of knew that I wanted to carry on with these stories because I think they do stand up on their own. And I was very much influenced by folk tales and fairy tales when I was a kid. And I kind of wanted to write in that vein. It's almost like it could be mistaken, hopefully. In fact, I did. Sorry, I know I ramble. It's just reminding me actually because my whenever I write, I always want to make it like it's as good as the next book on the shelf. It's next to a well-respected book or well-respected story. So obviously Hans Christian Andersen springs to mind, the Brothers Grimm. So if I could emulate that and have something that could be considered one of theirs, then that's the greatest compliment. And I did have a brilliant compliment where Vicky, as I say, she performed that story, and that's actually a cut down story. The story is actually longer. So for her to remember a story that's over 5 minutes, all in verse, was just phenomenal. And the way she performed it was just magical. And she is a regular storyteller. And before all of the lockdown and everything, she was performing storytelling evenings up in London. And she asked if she could perform that a couple of times. And she performed it, I think it was the first time. And she had another, I think it was a writer or another performer, come to her and say, "Oh, that's brilliant. Which Brothers Grimm tale is that? I've never heard this one before." And it was like, wow, okay, because she genuinely thought it was an old sort of folk tale. And I thought, yeah, that's one of the best compliments that that I can have.
Absolutely. And so you decided to do the mad thing of change it into an animated story. Was that something you regretted once you started? I mean, it works really well, and I think you've very cleverly, probably for lots of reasons, decided to keep it quite simple. And it's obviously simple animation, but there is no such thing as simple animation. I mean, it's complicated even at its most simple, isn't it? So you've got all those different elements, especially that one scene towards the end where there's just loads of little things of people milling around and moving. If you've never done animation before, even keeping it sort of simple 2D, it's obviously 2D cutout styly, isn't it? So there's not massive amounts of detailed movement, but there's still a lot of elements going on. I think it's that whole trick of keeping it simple and making it intentionally so. You've intentionally done it like that shadow puppet type feel. Therefore it doesn't look like you've done something ambitious and just failed at it. You've done something, that's how it should be, that's how it should look. So I think that was a trick, and it worked very well.
Well, thank you. Yeah, because I did think it was like, okay, and I had a month. That was it. It was. Oh yeah, sorry. So it was a competition, as I say, the Southern Molting Glendish competition, and I had a month. The deadline was a month from when I read their website, wow. The competition.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, and you know me, Julian, I blindly go into these going, it'll be all right, no worries.
Give that a go. It's good to have a deadline to make you do something. But animation,
my God, deadlines are brilliant because I just thought I have to do this. Because I don't like failing, and I just thought even if I miss the deadline, then hopefully there'll be something and I could just do it anyway and finish it off. But I really wanted to hit the deadline, and about halfway through I did regret it because the rainfall as well. Each one of those I had to animate separately, and I've never done any animation before. I had to, first of all, research what software I would use. I have no money for budget for this, so it was okay. It needs to be free software.
Okay,
I might have paid 20 quid or something, but I think it was free software. I had to sit and watch tutorials about how to actually use the software. I then had to work out how the hell I was going to do it. So do you do all the drawings first, or do you do it bit by bit? Do you do the audio first? And it's like, okay, surely you have to do the audio first because then you've got that as the timeline and then you can sync it in. So, okay, I need to record the audio. And of course, and like you say, I thought, what's the simplest form of animation? And I remember watching as a kid, BBC Two probably, they used to have like Polish animation and, German animation maybe. And it was the silhouette animations, and I always found them very, very evocative. Very, I don't know. There just seemed something about that style that connected to me as a kid. it was very simple. Maybe it's because it was probably, you know, the puppet, the shadow puppet, you know, it's an old traditional form of entertainment. You know, you'd put a sheet up, you'd put a fire behind, or it must be behind, and then you just do your hands and you would just animate with your hands. So I really like so maybe it taps into that tradition as well. So I thought, that I could probably do. Anything like, you know, Disney is ridiculous. This is not going to happen. So I needed everything to just be very basic, but I needed it to be a style to show, like you say, that, this is what I'm going for. But even so, it took so long to do one sequence, and my computer kept crashing. So what I had to do was, I couldn't just have one long 5-minute animation, you know, and you just press play and then that's it. Oh, and it's all animating. I had to do it all in sections. I had to render stuff out. So I had to then bring it into another editing bit of software and edit them all together. And of course, then the sound effects. So it was complicated, although it looks fairly simple. But
Well, I mean, we're so spoilt, aren't we, by everything we see on telly, that when you see something like that, it doesn't look simple, but you know, you could look closer to it when you start thinking about it. Okay, it's fairly simple, but it's not. Everything turns out to be complicated, which makes you then really appreciate. I've been watching, you know, because I've been thinking about doing some animated things for this channel and little things, even if it's just logos or intro sequences or something. So looking into some software and stuff, and you just know it's just a whole bunch of work, and you start watching kids TV and animated things, you go, my God, that takes, you know, and it's all done in computer now, it's all CG now, but it still takes a long time to do all that kind of stuff. So bravo for getting that done and it ending up to work so well. What would you say? I mean, it was all a big challenge, but what was the biggest challenge then, other than computers being a pain, and as they always are?
I guess the biggest thing was learning the package initially. And of course, because I had a month, it was like, right, I haven't really got time to learn all the nuanced, you know, finer points to really polish everything. So it was like, right, I've got to just do the basics. How can I move that person from there to there? You know, how can I make that bird fly exactly where I want it? You know, exactly around the text that I wanted it.
Yeah.
And that, again, that was just trial and error, basically. And so once I'd mastered that, well, not mastered, but once I was okay with that, it got easier. But then there was still fresh challenges, because it's like, oh, okay, now I've got a crowd scene. So the crowd scene, when the bird flies out of the tower, the princess flies out of the tower, it's like, right, like you say, it's like, oh, okay, where did that move from and where did that move from? And of course, you've got, if anybody's worked with software before, you know, you have layers. So it's like, okay, what person is on that layer? You know, what layer is that person?
You need to be so organized and label all your layers, don't you? And it becomes ridiculous.
And so again, it's that big learning curve. And stupidly, I'm thinking of entering their new competition, which is so I will be doing another animation. I think I'm gearing myself up for it. But of course,
I was going to ask, what's next? What next are you going to do? Because the beauty of it, the beauty of learning these new skills is, you know, bringing it all back to creativity, is that you need a project to learn things on. It's so hard to learn a piece of software or to learn to do something just by sitting there when you don't have an end goal. But what I found is, obviously, if you're saying, I need to do this, I want to make this short film, but in order to do that, I need to learn how to use After Effects, or learn how to use this for the special effect or whatever, or you know, it's by doing it with an end project. That's why we make short films, is because that's how you learn, that's how you train yourself to do that, learn about pacing and directing and cutting and editing and all that stuff. So it's great to have a project, and I think, you know, having a competition and saying, right, I'm going to enter this competition is nothing like a deadline, isn't it, to focus mind and get the procrastination out the window.
Yeah, and I'm really glad I did it, because it was like, again, it was okay. It was a challenge. I had the time to do it, and again, that deadline really helped. And and then there was a nice little happy ending to this, because they had over 900 entries from around the world. It's just a local theatre to me, and I was thinking, they'll probably have, like, you know, 20 people enter, 30 at the most. You know, it's not a big town. You know, I don't think their social media is particularly far-reaching. they had over 900 entries apparently, and the way they did it was there was 16 runners up and then a final winner, and I was one of the 16 runners up. So, you know, I was I was massively pleased with that.
Yeah.
So to put all that effort and time, and then for other people to judge it, who I mean, I knew one of them. I don't think he was on the panel actually, but there were proper filmmakers that were judging it. You know, who I think one had worked for the BBC and Channel 4.
Yeah.
And I didn't know them, so to have, you know, strangers go, yeah, that is top, you know, 17 out of 900.
Well,
that blew me away.
It makes it all worth all the sweat and tears worthwhile, doesn't it? At the end of the day, to get a bit of praise. I mean, you know, that's the thing, isn't it? And so I think you pitched that just right, because if you tried to be more ambitious, or, you know, this is, I think your tricky second album, if you do another one, is going to be the challenge, isn't it? Because you might want to suddenly go full on CGI. You have to learn something.
Well, I think like anything, you do try and improve it. But thinking that, it's again, I think I've got 2 months now for this one. I think the deadline. So if anyone does want to, I don't know when this is going out, Julian, but if anyone does want to enter it, it's the Southern Maltings Theatre. So 5 minute. All the criteria is it has to be, you know, less than 5 minutes. That's the maximum.
I don't need tempting into doing something. I don't, you know, 2 months. Okay, that's doable. I might have to try. You know, I need a kick up the arse to get motivated.
Why not? I mean, I mean, you could even just enter like a minute. It doesn't have to be the full 5 minutes, but that's the maximum. And because I'd already pre-written the story, I had to cut stuff out. So that's why mine is exactly 5 minutes, because trying to cut the story down and still make sense was a challenge in itself. So again, that was the challenge. You know, that was my first challenge, was right, what bits do I cut out? I had to record myself. Not just reading it, but performing it, you know, and to keep it under the 5 minutes. And I didn't want it, you know, to start straight away with, you know, the story. So again, I needed to cut it down slightly more. So I can't remember where this was going, what the question was.
I just think the second one you were going to make, you're thinking of doing another one. You've got 2 months, but we are slowly running out of time. So we are going to, so we should keep people hanging on. There's going to be a sequel, or it's going to be another story.
Well, I will do the reveal. It's actually another one from the play that I wrote. So again, I wrote it specifically for the play, and it's called The Beggar Blessed. And it actually, I did think, do you know what? Let's not reinvent the wheel. Let's keep it the same style. Let's, you know, keep it the same font. Let's sort of, it's like, you know, be a companion piece, because it was written for a play where there's three stories within it that do, you know, they do enhance the play, but equally they are similar in the folktale kind of, you know, feeling. So I thought, let's do the same sort of style, the same sort of vibe, basically.
Well, a trilogy, you know, it worked for 3 Men and a Baby, you know, trilogies are where it's at. Didn't quite work for Matrix, but, you know, who knows what it would work for Ken Boyter. Well, and rightly so, yeah.
Yeah, maybe I could win it this time. That would be nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, brilliant. I mean, I think we can, as you know, we can talk for ages about stuff, but I think we're going to try and keep this to half an hour. So I think that was very interesting. It's a great little film. Good luck with the second one. I'm sure Ken will be back on this channel talking about other things in the future, because he's got lots of pokers in the fire. I think. Yeah. I think that's So thank you, Ken, for joining us, and we will see you again very soon.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It was a pleasure.
So there we have it. That was Creatively Speaking with K.R. Boyter. Thank you for watching. Please do subscribe. We're a new channel. It's lovely to get subscribers and likes and do all that YouTube thing you have to do to make us continue doing these shows. We've got a few other things, you know, we've got different sections to the show. We've got our creative therapy section. This Creatively Speaking thing is something we want to push a little more, and we've got another thing which is a bit more techie coming up also. So subscribe to get all that lovely goodness to inspire you and motivate you to do your creative project. Thanks for watching.